Howdy, I'm Gray Pilgrim. Well, I'm doing a little bit of research on a gun of mine, and I thought I'd sort of fill you in on what I found out. This is an old wheel lock, or not wheel lock, pepper box, I think they call them. It's a 5-shot, 36 caliber, and it has this bar hammer on top of it. It's double action. It's a brutal pull to get it to go. And I did a video about it once called The Gun That Won the East. And it really was. I mean, though it was used a lot in the West as well. If you couldn't afford a Colt, you bought one of these. And for the first few years that Colt was making the 1849, this outsold it because it was a lot cheaper. It's made by a fellow by the name of Ethan Allen. Not that Ethan Allen, another guy with the same name. And he came from a little town called Grafton in, I think, Connecticut. And then it's either Connecticut or Massachusetts. Maybe it's Massachusetts. I don't know. I know that later on he moved to Worcester County in Massachusetts, and that's where he spent most of his time. But you can't, there's no serial number on this thing, no way of dating it other than the name on it. And the name on this thing is Allen and Thurber. Just Allen and Thurber, okay? Well, I got a book on them. This is called The Allen and Wheel Lock Firearms. And it's just a discussion of the various types of firearms that Ethan Allen developed over the years. Some of which were these pepper boxes, and some of them were actual long arms, revolvers. But I printed this out because it sort of has the whole thing. He started out in 1837 building a cane gun. Then in 1837, he went to a cousin of his named Charles Thurber when he was still living in Grafton, and they formed a company called Allen and Thurber. And Allen and Thurber was the name of the company, even though they moved from Grafton to Norwich and from Norwich to Worcester. That was between 1837 and 1847. Then in 1847 again, from 1847 to 1854, these were marked Allen and Thurber. Well, then Thurber died. Thurber was his brother-in-law. Well, his other brother-in-law, whose name was Thomas Wheellock, became a partner, and he started out with him in 1856. So this is marked, it's not marked Allen and Thurber and Co., which were the mark for anything from 1854 to 1856, but Allen and Thurber, which was the mark from 1847 to 1854. So this is no older than 1847 and no newer than 1854. Afterwards, when Wheellock died, Thurber took on as partners two of his son-in-laws. One was named Forehand, I forget what Forehand's first name, and Henry Wadsworth. And at first it was Allen and Forehand was the name of the company, then Allen and Wadsworth. And then when Allen died, the company became Forehand and Wadsworth. So I know it gets confusing, but that's how they did it back then. It was all in the family. So it's a beautiful old gun. It has some scroll work on it. It's everything's in working shape on the thing. I have shot it before, and it shoots just fine. It's a cap and ball, and the way a pepper box works is it has anywhere from 4 to 6 to even 8 separate barrels on a cylinder here. The cylinder is made up of the entire barrel is the cylinder. They're all smooth bore, and they're not a very accurate gun. You don't expect to hit with the first round, but you do. If you have plenty of rounds in your gun, you can just blast away at whoever the ne'er-do-well is, and you will hit him eventually. I think that Mark Twain did a story about a guy who was shooting at a box on the top of a coach or buggy or something with one of these, and instead he killed the mule that was holding it. he was persuaded to pay for the mule. But they're just not that accurate. I mean, it's a smoothbore. And there is no sighting system. There's no sights on the thing. You just sort of set down the hammer of all things. And it's just this rounded hammer here. There's there can not be any kind of front and rear sight, because to get a front sight, you'd have to have, well, in this case, 5 of them on the thing. But he made quite a bit of money with this thing. And it's, by the way, this book is by a guy named H.H. Thomas. And this is the story of Allen Wheelock. Well, they made most of their guns while is partnered with Wheelock, so I guess they kept that name. But this is a much earlier one. It's an Allen and Thurber, and not an Allen and Thurber Co., but Allen and Thurber. So I'll say it's an 1854, probably. And it's one of their. It's not one of their high end. It's one of their not low end either. It's sort of Midland sort of pistol, and it's just an interesting exercise to look at things, look at the markings on them, and try and figure out the origins of it, the year it was made, how it was made. By the way, the nipples on this thing are machined into the barrel itself. They're not threaded in like a modern one. So if you mess up one of these, you're screwed. So I did just dry fire it, which I would not recommend doing. If you ever have one of these, and this is an antique, really an antique. So would that be 100 and about 170 years old? That's a bit antique-ish, I'd say. Anyway, that's what I've been up to today. Happy trails.